The next few poses will be done in a standing position. Please move slowly and at your own pace. Keep the sturdy chair nearby for balance if needed. If you find that I'm talking faster than you are moving, please take your time and do fewer repetitions. Take a nice deep inhale and exhale. Place the feet about hips-width apart and grounded on the floor. Lift the toes and spread them nice and wide, and feel the navel pull gently in towards the spine. Push the toes into the floor and lean forward just a little bit. Feel the muscles that keep you steady. Lean back just a little bit and feel the toes come up. Feel the muscles that keep you steady in this position. Now push all four corners of the feet into the floor. Notice the steadiness of mountain pose. Notice how the steadiness of mountain pose feels. On the next inhale, roll the shoulders towards the ears, back and down so the shoulders are slightly open. Let the palms rest open to the side. Inhale and let the arms rise with the palms facing up. Exhale, bend at the elbows and allow the hands to come down the center line. Sink into the knees just a little. Repeat this again. Inhale, lift the arms with the palms facing up. Allow the hands and face to be relaxed. Continue with this movement at your own pace. Breathe as you move, and try to coordinate the breath with the movement. On the next breath, lift the arms back over the head. Fingertips point in, palms face up. Imagine that you have candles in the palms of your hands and you do not want to spill them. Turn the fingertips so they face behind you. The palms remain up. Turn the fingertips to the side and then to the front like an offering, then out to the side walls. Breathe as you move, up to the top with the fingers facing in again, towards one another, and then forwards like an offering, then out to the side walls. Breathe as you move, up to the top with the fingers facing in again. Let's do this rotation one more time. After the second rotation, allow the hands to cascade down by the side and let them rest. Pause for one slow inhale and exhale. One more breath. Inhale, exhale. This next exercise is excellent for strengthening the spine and gently stretching the muscles of the back, front, and sides. Attempt to make the movement easeful and gentle. We will do these movements with various arm positions. The first arm position is the easiest. Please be sure to stay with the one that feels best for your body. We will demonstrate them all. Take the right hand to the waist and then the left. Roll the shoulders open. And on the exhale, lean to the right. Inhale to the center. On the exhale, lean to the left. Inhale back to the center. Roll the shoulders up, back, and down. And on the next inhale, gently pull the navel towards the spine. Pull the shoulder blades softly together. Get a small lift in the chin and feel a sense of lengthening through the front of the body. On the next exhale, begin to fold gently forward. It does not have to be all the way. Bend the knees slightly. Inhale and rise back to a standing position. Open the left arm to the side. Keep the elbow bent. Leave the right hand on the waist. Inhale. Exhale, lean slightly to the right, and then return back to the center. Bring the left hand down to the waist. Lift the right arm. Inhale. Exhale and lengthen to the left. Return to the center. Roll the shoulders open. Gently pull the navel in towards the spine. Pull the shoulder blades softly together. Get a small lift in the chin. Exhale and fold forward halfway. Inhale back to standing. Open the left arm again. Inhale, and on the exhale, lean to the right. Inhale and return back to the center. Place the left hand on the waist. Lift the right arm. Inhale. On the exhale, lean to the left. Inhale and return back to the center. Roll the shoulders open. Lengthen through the front of the body. Slightly pull the shoulder blades together. Get a small lift in the chin. Exhale and fold forward. Knees slightly bent. Inhale and return to standing in mountain pose. Pause for a moment. Inhale and exhale. For this warrior sequence, attempt to keep the movements gentle and relaxed. If you notice that you are struggling, move the feet closer together. Lower the arms or make the movements smaller. This pose is great for strengthening the legs, respiration, and opening the shoulders. Step the left foot forward just a few feet. The back foot points in at a 45-degree angle. The front knee bends and the hips face front if possible. Inhale, open the arms and bend at the elbows. On the exhale, bring the hands and elbows towards each other. Inhale, open the arms and push the heart softly forwards. Relax the shoulders. Exhale, bring the arms together. Inhale, open the arms to where you feel comfortable. Exhale, relax the arms inwards. Inhale, open and expand. Exhale, contract. Inhale, exhale. Bring the hands back down by the side. Return to mountain pose. One breath here. Inhale, exhale. Step the right foot forward. Take a moment, there's no rush. Ground the back foot into the floor. Bend the front knee. When you are ready, open the arms. Inhale. Exhale, bring the hands and elbows towards one another. Inhale, open the arms. This is a relaxed opening in the chest. Exhale, bring the hands and arms towards one another. Inhale, repeat again, creating spaciousness with a full inhale. Exhale, contract and relax the arms slightly. 2 more times at your own pace. Inhale, open. Exhale, close. Let the hands rest down by the side and return back to mountain pose. Pause here for a few breaths.
Welcome back to the 6th online episode of Live Sunday Peace Time, hosted by Peace Point, on alternating Sunday mornings by myself, Phra Nicholas Thanissaro, live streaming from Dhamma International Meditation Center in Azusa, California. Today's session will be about an hour and a quarter long and will consist of a 25-minute talk, 25 minutes of meditation, 25 minutes conclusion, answers to your questions submitted in advance, and news updates. Last time you saw me, we looked at meditation, problem solving, and the New Age, basically how meditation can be brought back into the world to solve problems and offer hope to society for the future. The topic for the Dhamma talk today will be an introduction to the subject of spiritual transformation, looking at challenges we face up to when using meditation for spiritual transformation, while ascertaining which parts of ourselves to change and which parts we may need to put up with for now. Again, this session I would encourage you to send in any questions you have by posting them on the Peace Point YouTube page or Peace Point Meditation Facebook page, or by sending them to me personally, so that I can have a shot at answering them next time round. So let's start by looking at the lifestyle considerations that apply to meditation and how we can build our lifestyle into one where we are enhancing our well-being. In other words, meditation and spiritual transformation. Before going any further today, I would like to point out some features of the special sort of mindset you need to make a success of spiritual transformation. Namely, how to keep an open mind, absorb what you can immediately, be prepared to sweat it out, spend a little time on it each day, leave aside anything that claims to superiority, and create your own personalized approach. My first consideration is to keep an open mind. Many things which you meet with in the spiritual transformation connection may appear strange because they come from ancient times. Therefore, you may need to suspend judgment of things that don't make immediate sense to you, while giving yourself time to ruminate on those things at your leisure. A second consideration is to absorb what you can immediately, generally the practical aspects. You may not be able to grasp everything at once, but what you can manage to pick up is to your benefit. Not everyone gains something from everything in these sessions, but there will always be a limited number of things that strike a chord for you. In this session and those that follow, I will try to provide the broadest possible variety of topics, in the hope that somewhere in that large variety might be the very thing which you're looking for. But sometimes, because even you yourself are not exactly sure what you're looking for, I will throw a wide Dharma net, at least to start with. A third consideration is that you may need to be prepared to sweat it out, because meditation and spiritual transformation are both of the nature of delayed gratification, since neither gives results immediately. Of course, meditation gives immediate results within the mind, and if you are observant enough, even from an early stage, you can start to see the changes and progress in the mind as a result of meditation. However, it takes longer for the changes to give their effects on the level of the personality or on the level of lifestyle. Insights also may dawn gradually, accumulating slowly like flying hours. The perspectives gained or the understandings coming from meditation may take years before you can live up to them. Spiritual wisdom on the level of understanding takes much longer to integrate into everyday life. Thus, sometimes we have to be prepared to sweat it out. I once talked to a man in the forestry business, where after planting a tree, you have to wait at least 20 years to get a return on your investment. He said it is very hard to find investors in forestry, because most people want instant profits, rewards and results. It is hard to find people who are prepared to wait to see the results of all the work they have done. Meditation and spiritual transformation, however, are in the category of work where you do have to be a little patient in order to see the results. But the results, when they do come, may be more worthwhile than you ever expected. A fourth consideration is that you may need to spend a little time on it every day, because most of the training involves changes in our habits. Therefore, they concern the things we do habitually. A fifth consideration is that it's advisable to leave aside anything that makes claim to superiority over other paths of spiritual transformation. Although you are studying a specific tradition of meditation here, it doesn't mean that there are not features of other traditions that are useful to learn about. I hope that you never become so entrenched in your learning that you don't think that anywhere else has new knowledge to offer you anymore. Lastly, you may need to personalize your approach. Try to find your own way of approaching the subject, and that will mean that, to some extent, you have managed to internalize the tradition. So, considering that as listeners to a spiritual transformation live stream, you are already much more motivated than those who would not spend their time on such things, have you ever wondered about the origins of your aptitude for spiritual transformation? It is likely that you got the majority of your inspiration from your parents, who have acted as both exemplars and guides in the shaping of your personal values, although some people may have got such values in spite of their parents. In the daily routine our parents may have laid down for us, for example by setting a time for us routinely to get up, go to bed, or eat with the family, or by being fastidious about our manners and the way we speak and dress. However, our parents' contribution to our aptitude for spiritual transformation is not the whole story. Even brothers or sisters in the same household sometimes end up with very different aptitudes for spiritual transformation, even though they have had the same upbringing. Some come to the same meditation class, even those from the same family. They hear the same talk but take away a very different message, even though their parents, life and household are identical. Thus sometimes it's very hard to pin down exactly what sort of influences help or hinder our spiritual quest. Of course, for most of us, our parents or guardians are the biggest initial main influence on our life, because for the first 10 years of our life, they are the example we see every day. Left to our own devices, we'd be unlikely to develop too many good habits. But if we have parents or guardians who insist on good habits, then we have the chance to pick up on those to a greater or lesser extent. Nonetheless, parents are not the whole of the story. Readiness for spiritual transformation may also be a question of age and maturity, since there seems to be an evolution that takes place over the course of life by which people become less selfish and more spiritually orientated in response to their life experience. But then again, some people become old and grey and remain none the wiser for their lives. Apart from upbringing and life experience, it comes down to how good we are at facing up to 3 challenges, namely vision, integration and communication, but I'll come back to these in a few moments. I once met an American who asked what the point was of investing time and effort into meditation. They were totally unconvinced by an Asian lady who answered that she meditated because it made her happy. It's much the same as asking someone why they bothered wanting to climb up to the top of a mountain. I think in current terminology the word happiness is probably undervalued, and it would be more convincing to say that the motivation to put time into meditation or even climbing a mountain comes down to the way it makes your life somehow more meaningful. At the very least, spiritual transformation can help us to overcome that feeling of restlessness that can often plague the mind. Sometimes it takes extreme circumstances in life to shake us free from such restlessness. Examples of things in life where people are forced to confront their limitations include when our children start to grow up into little monsters and we realize that we only have ourselves to blame for not having brought them up better. Or when things cause us to lose our temper. Or when we realize we are unable to change a bad habit. Or when we are confronted by the suffering of life, for example, by a bereavement. Or less extremely the culture shock encountered when traveling or undergoing self-isolation. Or when we are unable to become better managers of other people. Or when we are caught in dilemmas. Or when we are unable to keep a friendship or a marriage from breaking up. Unfortunately, society in general doesn't teach us comprehensive ways to deal with these problems. It just gives us therapy for the stress and trauma fallout once the damage has already been done. Spiritual transformation is an anathema to our throwaway society and short attention spans. Most of us have become desensitized to information on deeper values because we are spoon-fed with dumbed-down media simplifications of everything. You probably know the expression, "you can't put a gallon in a pint pot." These days, if messages don't appear in 6-foot-high, full-color letters with an attractive presenter next to them, we fail to notice them at all. Against such competition, valuable insights tend to slip into the background noise because it doesn't advertise itself. Modern society teaches us to care only about appearances while ignoring the inner life, like people who pay attention only to the packaging rather than the contents. On the contrary, spiritual transformation teaches us to be soft outwardly and strong inwardly. So aren't there memes that package spiritual transformation in a more memorable way? The good news is that historically speaking, there are many models useful for spiritual transformation, whether it be that of the 10 Balls or the 38 Blessings of Life. I could also have included the Kabbalah, or John Bunyan's Pilgrim's Progress, or the 12-Step Program. There are many other models of spiritual transformation, but in the limited time available, I've chosen to elaborate 2 as examples here. With the 10 Bulls or the 10 ox herding pictures, which are derived from the Zen tradition, we have 10 stages. In the first stage, we see a young boy who has decided that he wants to engage in a spiritual quest. And in the spiritual quest, his search for the true nature of the mind is symbolized by the search for a wild bull. In the second stage, we see the young boy has come across footprints of a bull. Even though he cannot see the bull yet, he is encouraged because he now has some proof of the existence of the bull and can follow those footprints. In the third stage, we see that the young boy gets his first glimpse of the bull itself, but from a distance. Although he has not managed to tame the bull yet, he is further encouraged because he has now seen the bull in the flesh, instead of just having footprints to follow. In the fourth stage, the young boy has taken a rope and lassoed the bull. He is in a struggle to get the bull under control because, of course, the bull is stronger than him. The solution is for the boy to tie the rope around an immovable post and let the bull struggle until it runs out of energy. This is the equivalent to the first stages of meditation, where you tie your mind down to an object of meditation like a crystal ball to stop it wandering and get it to settle. In the fifth stage, the boy has managed to tame the bull, and as we might manage to tame the mind after we get better at meditation, he is now able to lead the bull wherever he needs it to go. In the sixth stage, we can see the boy has managed to tame the bull to the point that the rope is no longer necessary, and he can manage to sit on the back of the bull and play his flute as he goes along. In the seventh stage, the bull has completely disappeared, and we see the boy sitting outside, enjoying the moonlight, experiencing happiness, having discovered that the bull was not the object of the quest at all, but happiness was. Meanwhile, the bull or the mind was just a means to this end. The 8th stage is sometimes known as the void or nothingness, because even the boy as separate from the universe has disappeared. Imagine that he's become one and the same as the happiness he has discovered, with an enlightenment-like experience. In the 9th stage, the river flows, the leaves of the weeping willow fall, and the birds sing and fly. The world just is. Again, the boy is no longer the important thing, as he has transcended his sense of individuality. He can appreciate the world for what it is. In the 10th and final stage, the boy returns to the marketplace, meeting up with an old traveller there, as he shares his insights for the benefit of the world. This is a description of the stages of spiritual transformation as symbolized in the ox-herding woodcuts. An alternative description of the stages of transformation are shown in 38 blessings of the Mangala Sutta, which have been simplified down into 10 stages that show the sequence of virtues which a practitioner needs to master, starting with the simple and easily understood ones, and progressing sequentially to more abstract and transcendental ones. As you can see from this slide, we start by turning our backs on the old bad habits before moving on to turn towards the new good habits. We make ourselves useful to society. We cultivate harmony in our family lives. We try to become a pillar of society. From there we start to work directly with the mind, creating readiness of mind, instilling ourselves with basic virtues, then higher virtues, eradicating all the defilements in the mind, and eventually enjoying the fruits of freedom from the mental defilements. These memes of spiritual transformation are like maps of journeys that help us see more easily the ways in which everyday life and spiritual transformation can support one another. So, to come back to that important difference I mentioned earlier between spiritual cultivators, I'd like to talk about the ability to face up to challenges. The moment you start to develop yourself, you are opening yourself up to many new challenges which people in general never have to face in their lives. If you never even tried to develop yourself, you wouldn't need to worry about spiritual headwinds. However, the moment you set yourself up as an example of virtue cultivation, you suddenly become a target of people's gossip about moral fortitude, or on the contrary, being nothing more than a hypocrite. If you set a target for how you want to develop yourself, then you open yourself up to more chance of disappointment than a person who never entertained such an ambition for themselves. However, in brief, and we will expand on the details over the next few sessions, there are 3 major challenges which face people on the path of spiritual transformation. The first of these is development of vision. You need to develop conducive vision, attitudes and perspectives even before you start to develop yourself. You need to have the sort of vision where you are able to confront the weaknesses you have in yourself, to know the limitations of yourself in order to go forward. It takes vision even to consider changing yourself at all. Some people think that however they are born, they should stay like that. To have the sort of vision where you dare to consider changing yourself is already quite ambitious. Developing such vision is the first challenge which faces anyone who wants to transform themselves for the better. In this challenge, we include developing priorities and overcoming obstacles. The second is the challenge of that integration and commitment to practice. You need commitment because if you are up against habitual bad habits in your personality or your life, then you need to confront those things with new habits that are better. Thus, you need a regularity and commitment to practice in order to overcome the bad habits. Commitment is not enough, however. You also need to integrate the insights you gain in your meditation into more mundane aspects of your life. This is why commitment and integration are an important second challenge which faces those who want to transform themselves for the better. In this challenge, we include awareness of the way we use things and the way we make decisions and choices. The third challenge is developing effective channels of communication. It's all very well being the most wonderful person in the world who is the most patient and the most enthusiastic about transforming yourself, but if everyone else hates you as a result, or if you are unable to explain to them what you're doing, if you are unable to have a good relationship with the people around you, then again you fail, because nobody lives in a vacuum. Thus, one of the biggest challenges which faces anyone in spiritual transformation is successfully maintaining these channels of communication. In this respect, I speak from experience, because I was a closet meditator for the first 18 months I started to learn meditation. Sometimes you have to know how to be able to introduce the subject of spiritual transformation to those around you in a diplomatic and sensitive way. Otherwise, those around you can obstruct your practice. Thus, channels of communication are a third major challenge that faces us on our path of spiritual transformation, because we are not hermits who live in a cave somewhere. We live in real society. We work with real people. We have friends who are real people, and hopefully we're not going to lose them all as we further our spiritual practice. In this challenge, we include the way we get along with others, how well we are able to integrate inner and outer life, our approach to perfectionism, our capacity for unconditional compassion, and our appreciation of human dignity. So now we come to time for some meditation ourselves. So if you'd like to find a comfortable sitting position for yourself now as you listen to my instructions. So we are going to sit now for meditation. If you'd like to find a comfortable position for yourself in meditation, having done chanting in homage to the Triple Gem, from this moment forth, all of us should do our best to realign our minds with the pathway towards nirvana. Sit in a cross-legged position, with your right leg on your left leg, your right hand on your left hand, the index finger of your right hand touching against the thumb of your left hand, with your hands resting palm upwards on your lap. And close your eyes very gently. Close your eyes gently, as if you were only half closing them, almost as if you were closing your eyes to go to sleep. Never squeeze your eyes closed, and make sure there's no pressure around your eyes. Fill your mind with happiness and joy. And suppose that inside your body is bright and clear, free of any sort of worries or anxieties, with no worries about anything at all. Imagine that inside your body is just a hollow cavity, and feel as if you were sitting alone in empty space, without any organs or tissues, without any muscles or bones, as if it is completely empty inside yourself, spacious, like a hollow cavity inside yourself, rather like a crystal tube or a diamond pipe, clear and bright, transparent inside yourself, as if the surface of your body is as delicate and clear as a bubble, hollow with an empty space inside yourself, like a crystal or a diamond tube. And we bring our mind together at the center of our body, at a standstill, at the center of our body, the seventh base of the mind, which is approximately in the middle of our stomach, 2 fingers above the level of our navel. To be precise, you can imagine that you take 2 thin threads, one running from your navel directly through your back, the other running from the right side to the left side, so that the 2 threads come to an intersection at the center of the body. The intersection is no larger than the eye of a needle. 2 finger breadths above the intersection is a point we call the 7th base of the mind. To see this point clearly, your mind has first to be at a standstill, which means that we must have no further thoughts. But in practice, we can approximate to this point, or we can just focus our mind anywhere in the center of our stomach, giving it the benefit of the doubt, anywhere which feels right for you, and later, when the mind becomes more refined, it will come precisely to the center of its own accord. Today, as we meditate, we'll take the opportunity to explore the greater implications of meditation towards quality of life and quality of the environment, in contrast to the opinion often put about that meditation is selfish and is running away from the problems of the world. The existence of defilements in the mind, such as greed, hatred, and delusion, affects not only the quality of our mind, but also the quality of our life, and even has an effect on the environment around us. The quality of the mind affects the environment rather than vice versa. Because our actions affect the world we live in on 3 different levels of description, otherwise known as the world of formations, or Sankhara Loka, the world of beings, or Satta Loka, and the world of location, or Okasa Loka. When we talk about the world of formations, we mean the body, which is home to our mind. The quality of our mind affects our physical health and our longevity, as we can see from studies on meditation, which show improved rates of convalescence in patients who meditate regularly. When we talk about the world of beings, we talk about the nature or disposition of all beings in the world. Often the tendencies to aggression, which bring about war in the first place, can be bypassed completely if those making the decisions in the world have their mind calmed by meditation the whole of the time. When we talk about the world of location, we mean the quality and abundance of the physical environment we inhabit. Of course, it means pollution in the atmosphere and destruction of the rainforests. But in Buddhism, we see that such environmental damage is just a symptom of damage which is going on much deeper in the human mind. And if the minds of people in the world were purer, then the environment would automatically become free of ecological problems. Thus, the importance of events like Earth Day or World Meditation Day is that large numbers of people the world over sit for meditation to benefit the world as a whole. They are celebrations of meditation when we share the benefits of our meditation for everybody in the world. Some misunderstand that for a person to meditate is antisocial, or is escaping from the problems of the world. But such events show that meditators also have a social conscience, and have their own solutions to problems which often go unsolved by conventional methods. When we have increased defilements in our minds, we are unable to take control of our lives, to live it to the fullest of our potential, and even our lifespans are shortened. This is no exaggeration, but can be explained by the fact that when we act under the influence of defilements in the mind, we live by trial and error. We don't know what is damaging to ourselves and what is not. Thus, in our process of trial and error, we do more damage than good to ourselves, our lives, and the environment. The quality of the mind decreases. The environment suffers from the acts of greed, exploitation, and pollution that result. People are impatient in the harvest of crops, and in their greed, they use more and more chemicals to hurry the growth of the crops. Eventually, the food becomes contaminated, reducing our lifespan as a result. In the end, the chemicals build up in the bodies of the consumers, leading to shortened lifespan. There are implications not only towards our lives, but also towards the environment. Some find it difficult to believe that defilements in the mind can have an effect on the quality of the atmosphere. But if you don't believe it for yourself, try comparing the atmosphere of a room used regularly for meditation, and compare it with a bar in a nightclub. The temperature in both rooms might be the same, but the vibration is different. The vibration can be changed by something as seemingly insignificant as an argument. Thus, anywhere where defilements have got the upper hand, the atmosphere will be spoiled. And when the atmosphere is spoiled, the rain doesn't fall according to the season. In ancient times, they acknowledged this interconnectedness, and so, whenever there was any problem with the lack of rainfall, they would call a meeting of everybody in the country and agree for everybody to upgrade the quality of their conduct. They would do chanting, meditate, spread loving kindness, give alms, and keep the precepts. And when they did this, usually within the space of 7 days the rain would fall. Nowadays, though, it's not often that everybody in a particular place would be so unified and cooperative in doing good deeds, such as keeping the precepts, or giving alms, or meditating together. Nowadays, it is hard to find people gathering together in large numbers to do anything constructive. All you see is people coming together in a mob to protest about this or that. All they manage to do by their efforts is to make the atmosphere even worse. Thus, if you want to discover the way to solve the problems in the proper way, such as getting to the root of the problems of the environment in the same way the ancients used to do, then we should give first priority to eradicating defilements from the mind. It is for this reason that in the Buddhist concepts of old, people saw that the pollution of the mind through defilements extrapolated to pollution in our lives with problems of immorality, and the pollution of the natural environment with poisons. It is for this reason that the World Fellowship of Buddhist Youth decided to adopt Hiroshima Day, the 6th of August each year, as a day of peace in the world, calling it World Meditation Day. Because although Buddhists around the world might not agree on the calendar dates for Vesak, Magha Puja Day, or Katina, all agree that by meditating together, the world can become a more peaceful place. Meditation will help all the people of the world to discover peace inside themselves, to the point that they will be able to attain true wisdom. Once they have mindfulness and wisdom, they will realize their true purpose in life, and they will be able to set proper priorities in life, leading their lives without harming one another. They will have compassion towards one another. Therefore, World Meditation Day is a great opportunity for all of us to spread loving kindness and share the benefits of our merit for all the people of the world, with a wish that they too may attain true peace inside, that inner peace may be the basis of world peace, that they may overcome all their aggression and ill will in harming one another, so that their minds may be filled with loving kindness and compassion, that they will be willing to share what they have with others. Similarly, Earth Day, on the 22nd of April each year, which throughout the world is a festival when everyone recollects that it's about time that we ought to take better care of our planet. Again, we see care for the world on all three levels of meaning. By sitting together for meditation to cultivate purity and clarity, which is refined in our mind and can be enlarged to the world on all three levels: the level of the body, the level of the community of beings, and the level of the environment too. Something that can start from inside our very own minds, to purify the earth on all three levels, even to the extent that the planets, the stars, the sun, the moon and the galaxies, even the cosmos, reaching all beings irrespective of race, creed, nationality or religion, so that all may be purified completely of all forms of decay. All of these things start out from our bright, clear mind inside ourselves, and it's the starting point for the seed of peace on our planet. This is why we have to bring about real peace in the world by this method, because the real peace comes from the peace inside ourselves. World peace must come from inner peace, and this peace will enlarge continuously to bring real peace in the world. We have to practice peace and enlarge peace from the inside out, by cultivating our mind in a bright and a peaceful way. We have to start by aligning our mind with the inner peace inside ourselves. Inner peace will ensure safety for the world and bring about real peace in the world as a whole. Because the peace of the world cannot happen simply by dialogue or debate or waging war in the name of peace. But what we can learn from history is that external wars, for various reasons, have never brought about lasting peace in the world. All wars have managed to achieve is to bring about suffering in our human community. More justified than the external wars are the wars we must wage inside ourselves. The war inside the mind which we must wage is a war that does not lead to casualties or cruelty. It is a war by which we must face up to our real enemy, which is the defilements in our own minds, whether it be the defilements of greed, hatred, or delusion, which are latent in our minds. These are our real enemies, the enemies of all beings in the world. Each time we go onto the battlefield of the mind, although there are no casualties, there's nothing to cry about from the losses of the battle, but to the contrary, at all levels of this battle inside, the more we manage to overcome our enemies on the battlefield of the mind, the more happiness will come to us. A sort of happiness which has no admixture of suffering at all. This happiness will be established in our mind in the place of suffering. So real peace in the world can only come about when everyone in the world can bring their mind to a standstill, to attain inner peace inside themselves. It cannot happen by the power of supernatural beings, but it has to come from ourselves. It has to come from the grassroots efforts of individual people, cooperating together, and the peace of each individual person will combine to protect the whole of our planet, and at that time, all the people in the world, and the world itself, will come across true and lasting peace. This is something which people have been searching for since time immemorial. But what we discover is that our efforts have been in vain, because we've been looking for peace in the wrong place. We have overlooked the fact that the peace we are looking for already exists inside ourselves. In fact, the real peace, the real success and fulfillment, is not something which we have to look around ourselves for. We can find all of these things inside ourselves, at the center of our body, at the seventh base of our own mind. And each person can find it in their own mind just as we can, with no exceptions in respect to creed, nationality or religion. By bringing our mind to a standstill at this point, and nowhere else. Because if we focus our mind anywhere else, we cannot meet up with inner peace. We need to rest our mind gently at this point, and in this way we can liberate ourselves and liberate the whole of humankind from the control of the defilements in our minds, in a permanent way. In fact, true peace already exists in our mind. We have more than enough peace in our mind to share with others in the world. All that is required is that we bring our mind to a standstill and allow our mind to become peaceful, bright, and clear. In order to attain inner peace inside ourselves, as a refuge which is able to bring about real peace in the world. If all of us were able to attain inner peace inside ourselves, we would touch on great happiness. We would have a refuge inside ourselves, and we will feel at ease and secure in every place we go. Our mind would be perfused with joy right from the moment we first attain inner peace in ourselves, bright and clear, in the center of our body. Inner peace at the center of our body. Once enough people in the world meditate and attain inner peace within themselves, the real signs of peace would start to happen in the world, starting from ourselves first and gradually spreading outwards to the whole of the world. This will be the witness to the fact that our life has come to a point of fulfillment, that we experience only happiness, no matter what lifetime we will arise in. To have fulfillment in life, from this time forth, we will be someone who has no further ill will or vengeance or negative retribution catching up with us, no matter how many more lifetimes we must be born for. We will achieve success in every task we turn our hand to from this lifetime onwards. We will be able to see peace in its long-term form, and this could be achieved by training ourselves in meditation each and every day. In fact, meditation is something universal, which anyone in the world can practice. It doesn't depend on one's beliefs. It is as much a part of human life as breathing in and out. It ought to be as regular a part of our daily routine as brushing our teeth or combing our hair. By meditation, we can gradually add to the peace inside ourselves every day. And if we manage this within our human lifespan, the world will change for the better, to become a more peaceful and harmonious place. If people are able to attain this inner peace inside themselves, they will meet up with real happiness, a happiness which is true happiness, not like the thing which we normally assume is happiness, but which in fact is only a pale reflection of the real thing. Once we have true happiness inside, this happiness will expand to those around us in our surroundings, to our families, our communities, and eventually our whole nation and the whole world. In such a way, peace will spread throughout the world in a subtle but determined way, simply by the fact that people will have attained the true refuge inside themselves. Thus, inner peace is something that is very important. We should all try to attain inner peace for ourselves, and today, the purpose of our meditation practice is to attain this inner peace for ourselves. And the way we can do this is by bringing our mind to a standstill at the center of our body, by imagining the image of a bright, clear crystal ball, or a bright, clear Buddha image, bringing our mind to a standstill inside that bright, clear image inside ourselves. And, in order that no thoughts crop up in our mind, we may also repeat silently to ourselves the sound of the mantra, Samma Arahang, Samma Arahang, Samma Arahang, over and over again, consistently and continuously, while maintaining our mind at a standstill at the center of the body, at a point 2 finger breadths above the level of our navel. It is all we need to do in our meditation practice. There's nothing else apart from this we have to do. If we can do this and nothing else, we will soon attain inner peace inside ourselves. As a result of such practice, all of us will have a united vision to arrive at peace in our world. Once we understand one another in the world, true peace will emerge as soon as all of our minds are refined to the point that we can be witness to the peace and purity inside ourselves. Whether it be a clear sphere or a clear Buddha image inside ourselves with our eyes open or closed. And on the basis of all of the merit we have accrued by our practice, we should make the wish that through the considerable merit of our attainment in the meditation, that the merit of our meditation together on this occasion will protect the world, so that all beings in the world, whether of any race, religion, or creed, experience real peace, so that all beings in the world may give up fighting amongst themselves, but instead be protected by peace and loving kindness, compassion from this moment forth. May all of you rest your mind in peace at the center of your body, with a bright, clear crystal ball at the center of your body, or with a bright, clear Buddha image at the center of your body, until the inner brightness arises for you. Brightness which will come from the mind that is filled with compassion and loving kindness for one's fellow man, which is the basis of real peace in the world. So now, all of you should make the effort to attain inner peace inside yourself. Now each their own meditation in silence for a few more moments, until we come to the appropriate time. Sabba Buddhanupavena, Sabba Dhammanupavena, Sabba Sankhanupavena Satha Soti Bhavantu Te. So if you'd like to come to the end of your meditation for today, you can gradually open your eyes again. If you feel at all uncomfortable, then slowly try changing to a more comfortable position before gradually finishing your practice. So, to return to the topic of spiritual transformation again. Of the 3 challenges we mentioned at the beginning of this session, the first is the challenge of vision. Let's start by looking at some of the wisdom from the old AA Serenity Prayer that goes something like, accept the things we cannot change, have the courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Why is vision important? Vision gives us aim, direction, and the momentum we need to transform ourselves for the better. It allows us to set our priorities. With our priorities, we often find that our time is taken up by things we don't want. Most people see their lives as nothing more than a stage upon which they play their chosen role. They think that the only choices life offers them is how colourful they wish to make their rather passive role. And they may think that life has only got value for as long as they are young and strong, but loses its value whenever they get old or sick. On the contrary, vision brings both courage and wisdom about the potential of our life. It's like Mr. Wilbur and Mr. Wright, who were the world pioneers of aviation. In the beginning, their project started simply with the dream of inventing a way for steel to float in the air. However, that dream, through their efforts, was to become a reality, realized in the shape of the world's first airplane. And because Mr. Wilbur and Mr. Wright dared to dream of something that had not yet come to be, down to the present day, their invention has become something we can now all afford to take for granted. If we never take the first step, we cannot expect to achieve even the slightest success. If we dare to dream and take the first steps in the direction of our dreams, one day we can have the possibility to fulfill our dreams. Unfortunately, to transform ourselves successfully needs many qualities requiring vision. Courage to dare to change what we can see needs to be changed about ourselves, patience to tolerate what can't be changed immediately, and the necessary wisdom to tell us the difference between what we can change and what we cannot yet change. Some people in the world are lucky enough to have all these qualities, but others have only some or none of them, and therefore, as a word of warning, we can describe 4 categories of people in the world in terms of their readiness for spiritual transformation. The first category are the blind, who, like the majority of folks in the world, are asleep and have no vision to see what is wrong with themselves or with life. The second category are the outsiders. The word outsiders comes from the 1956 book written by the philosopher Colin Wilson. Outsiders are those who do have the vision to see what's wrong with themselves or with life, but who don't see a way to do anything about it. And therefore they're left feeling that they don't fit in, because they can't pretend that they are content with being asleep like the people they see around them. The third category can be referred to as despairers. These are the people who have the vision to see what's wrong with themselves or with life, but they try to change the unchangeable things and are thereby driven to despair or suicide. Today I have 2 stories about people who were in so much despair that they wanted to commit suicide. Fortunately, both have happy endings, which is the only reason I dare talk about them on this show. The first man who wanted to kill himself went to see a monk first. Normally, monks will never encourage anyone to commit suicide because if you die in such a violent and self-destructive way, you will not have a good rebirth for sure. However, the monk in this case was the Venerable Detachiwo, the vice abbot of our main temple in Thailand, who is sometimes a little bit unorthodox. He didn't prohibit the man, but explained that if he wanted to have a good death, he should be doing something wholesome as he died. Therefore, he ought to go to the main chapel and meditate to the death, by adopting the meditation posture and not moving again until he was dead. The man followed the monk's advice, and for the first half an hour he still wanted to die. After that his knees began to hurt, and he realized that if I can't stand the pain from my knees, I will be unlikely to tolerate the pain from dying. So he gave up the idea of committing suicide. The second story is about a suicide case who also went to see the Venerable Detachiwo. This time the man said he had heard there were special pills that would provide a quick and painless death, and he asked the monk if he had any that he would give him. The man was probably thinking of cyanide, but the monk gave him a laxative instead. The man swallowed the pills obediently, and after a short interval found himself running as fast as he can for the restrooms. Once inside, and having vacated his bowels, he suddenly felt all the tensions in his life had miraculously disappeared, and he couldn't remember any more what had upset himself so much that he would want to kill himself in the first place. The moral of this story, without wishing to trivialize suicidal ideation, is that you should be realistic about your spiritual transformation goals, so you don't find yourself ever in the category of despairers. Finally, we come to the category of those likely to be successful at spiritual transformation. They are those who have the vision to see what is wrong with themselves or with life, have the courage to change things, but who also have the wisdom to try and change only the things that are realistically changeable. Keeping yourself in the final of the four categories depends on the realization that the more personal strength a person has, the more they can afford to change about themselves immediately. A person with less personal strengths will have to be a little less ambitious and at the same time a little more patient. In the face of things they cannot yet change. If we know about the nature of life, endowed with accurate vision, we can be realistic in knowing how to respond to it, knowing what to change and what to endure. The key to knowing what to change and what to endure is knowing your own strengths. To see your strengths, you have to look deeper than your surface. In order to really know yourself, then you have to consider yourself in terms of 7 factors, which will lead you to look much deeper than the surface. And I've based these on a set of virtues found in the Vati Sutta of the Anguttara Nikaya. It is a real mirror that you can hold up to yourself to see the deeper qualities of yourself. The first quality is your level of inspiration. You need to believe in what you're doing. It means believing that the good deeds you are doing are really having an effect. For example, if you train to be a doctor but you don't believe in the value of modern medicine, perhaps you'll be better off doing something that you do genuinely believe in. In much the same way, how much you are inspired to do good deeds may affect your ability to see them through to completion. If you know, for example, that joining a meditation group or hearing a Dhamma talk will make you less lazy to meditate, then you need to build group attendance and Dhamma talks into your practice. If you want to go further than this and become a pillar of society, you need to be able not only to inspire yourself, but also to inspire those around you in society as well. The second quality is the integrity of your precepts. The person with integrity is probably the sort of person you would like to share your house with, or the sort of person you would trust to babysit your kids. The level of earnest in maintaining a baseline of morality and not taking advantage of others differs from person to person. A sloppy person might raise their hand with the thought of slapping a mosquito, but then remembers that they are trying to keep the precepts, and so chases the mosquito away as quickly as they can, in case they change their mind and do some harm. Such a person's level of commitment to morality is still not very strong. A slightly more morally together person when they realize they're being bitten by a mosquito, might still harbor irritation and chase the mosquito away without any further anger or vengefulness. A more accomplished person, when a mosquito bites them or not, will maintain their basis of morality as a bright sphere which they perceive at the center of their body the whole of the time. A third quality is how much experience you have, literally how much you have heard. This depends mainly on the depth of studies you have made in virtue and morality. It also depends how much you can remember of what you've learned, and how much you understand too. The fourth quality is knowing the limits of your own generosity, and the ability to let go of the things to which you are attached. Some people find it difficult to let go or give up the material things they possess. Other people will not teach others anything of what they know. Others still are unable to forgive others or let go of angry feelings they have towards certain other people. If this is the case with you, then you need to know that you still have limitations in the degree of your generosity. Society can only survive because of the generosity between members of society. If you are still selfish or angry with others, don't be surprised if people treat you as a nobody, because a nobody is exactly who you are in the eyes of society, where everyone must share to be loved. The fifth quality is your level of knowledge, common sense and insight, in other words, wisdom, which is more than just knowledge or worldly experience. Knowledge arises as a result of the power of the still mind to gain insight into the reality of situations, see problems at their roots. Society needs people of vision. If you develop such a vision through your own insight, you will be that much more valuable and important to society. The sixth quality is the ability to answer questions on your toes without having the chance to go away and prepare beforehand. The more ability you have in this department, the more quick-witted you are. If you are still lacking in this department, then you need to make the effort to train yourself further by rehearsing properly before live performances. A possible seventh, not mentioned in the scripture, but still relevant I think, is how healthy you are. You can take on more spiritual transformation if you are in good health. If your health is compromised, you may need to reduce the scope of your ambitions for spiritual transformation. Apart from defining the limits of yourself in each of these 7 departments, you need to meditate every day, or at least sit for meditation before you go to sleep each night. If you know your own strengths, then you will also be able to size up your ability to change things successfully for the better. If you are serious about this, then pin the list of 7 factors on your mirror and ask yourself each day which factor has improved since yesterday. However, if you size yourself up and find that you don't have the potential to change things, you will just have to put up with it until you do. This is not inertness from laziness or inaction, but it is patience based on wisdom. We discover that there are 5 levels of patience. The first level of patience is patience in the face of physical hardship, sometimes considered as patience on the kindergarten level. For example, being able to carry on doing your normal good deeds even when it's hot or cold weather or raining. The second level of patience is patience in the face of physical suffering, sometimes considered as patience on the elementary school level. For example, sickness or pain. Some people can tolerate all sorts of hardship, but if they see their own blood from a cut in their finger, they will scream and cry as if they were going to die, or maybe just faint. Bear in mind that in the hospital, ER, the more complaints patients make, generally speaking, the less serious their injuries really are. The third level of patience is patience in the face of conflict, sometimes considered as patience on the secondary level, the secondary school level. This is patience in the face of mental suffering, which arises as a result of coming into conflict with other people. The fourth level of patience is patience in the face of temptation, sometimes considered as patience on the undergrad level. All the previous forms of patience are towards things we hate, But this one is more difficult because it is towards the things we like and which are a temptation to us. For example, things like bribes. The fifth level of patience is sensitivity towards self-improvement, or not being stubborn. Sometimes considered as patience on the postgrad level because it is patience in the face of criticism. Some people can tolerate all forms of physical hardship, physical suffering, mental anguish and temptation, but if anyone gives them a piece of advice, they will turn their back on the person who gives it to them. When a person of knowledge teaches them something useful out of compassion, a truly patient person would follow the advice given with respect and humility, without ifs and buts or answering back. Thus, if they are told something, they start by listening, and then they do what they have been advised without showing reluctance, but thinking of the compassion of that person, of taking the trouble to give them that piece of advice. Don't just think the untransformed bad habits in yourself are things where you need to grit your teeth and bear it. This is rather a passive approach to being patient. As we can see from these 5 different levels, patience can actually be an active and transformative quality to develop in yourself. So now we come to the part of the live stream where we try to answer questions some of the viewers have sent in. My question in this session comes from Teresa Koo of Los Angeles. So, here comes a question. I would like to ask, what would be the correct course of action for a Buddhist, especially a monk, if they are asked to accept donations or money from people such as bank robbers? If their intention is good to the monastic community in donating, is the money they donated considered pure without karmic consequence? Hi Teresa, thank you for another stimulating question about monks and money. I remember your last question was about whether monks could receive personal donations of money, and today's question is about whether monks can or should accept ill-gotten gains. It reminds me of a story linked with the Dhammapada, verse 67. In other words, a wise man should not do anything that he would regret at a later time. In that story, the Buddha comments to Ananda when they see a bag of loot abandoned in a field by a robber during his escape, saying that is indeed a very poisonous snake, so that a farmer overhears them and is not tempted to take the bag of loot for himself. If the farmer were to pick up the money as he is tempted to do, it would be a danger to him, like handling a poisonous snake, because the authorities would eventually trace the evidence for the robbery back to him, and he would be punished, possibly executed, for a crime he did not do. Knowingly accepting stolen goods is certainly a crime. Accepting a charitable donation derived in a dishonest way is a little bit more of a grey area, especially since the money could come from embezzlement, tax evasion, a dishonest occupation like smuggling or exploitation, or perhaps just something like usury, i.e. excessive interest on loans. In the latter case, you could argue that the miscreant donors have a choice what they do with the money, and if they keep the money rather than donating it, then they would miss out on any chance of merit that might transform their life for the better. Unfortunately, according to the law, a person knowingly accepting stolen goods is an accessory to the crime. There's a case history from my own temple in Thailand a couple of years ago getting into trouble by accepting donations not from a bank robber, but actually from a bank CEO, who was later found to be skimming from his own bank. When the CEO was jailed, he could not pay back the money he had embezzled, so the government came and demanded the money from the temple instead. In fact, most of the money had already been spent on charitable works, but the government was not interested in this and threatened the temple with closure. I'm not sure whether the law in other countries would be used in the same way as in Thailand, but eventually the temple had to fundraise the missing money all over again to pay the government back for the bank chief's crime, which was a major headache because the missing funds amounted to many millions of baht. In my talks on the law of karma, I have regularly given the example of a person who steals $100 and then donates the $100 to a good cause. earning both good and bad karma. But the two actions do not cancel one another out. The good karma will provide for that donor in future lifetimes. But the fact the money was stolen means that the wealth comes to that person will be easily destroyed or stolen from them. So there are issues of purity that can be improved upon. Your question, though, seems mostly to concern the recipient of the donation to a temple and whether they are acting responsibly. In practice, it is very inconvenient to say to a potential donor, "That donation would be very welcome, but may I ask you before I accept it whether you earned the money by a right livelihood?" It would be inconvenient even to ask a less leading question like, "Excuse me, did your husband agree to this donation?" or "Excuse me, am I cutting into your kid's pocket money by accepting this donation?" Apart from being very embarrassing, it would be very off-putting for donors to be subjected to the Spanish Inquisition every time they wanted to give a donation. The best monks can generally do is to be diligent in educating their congregation members in morality and how to maximize merit through giving honestly earned donations. In conclusion, although these days monks are much more aware than they used to be about their legal responsibilities, I don't expect to see any changes in the near future for temple donations to bring them in line with, let's say, campaign contributions to a political party where they have to vet their donors. So let me finish up with a couple of news items, one about merit making at the temple and a second about the availability of meditation teaching in English. At the moment, as you probably know, despite certain relaxation in the social distancing laws in California, the activities of the temple are still pretty much limited to those we can share online, as the temple buildings remain closed to the public, with no monks going outside the temple gates and no community members coming into the temple building until the risk of COVID-19 contagion has passed. And the good news is that we are now receiving so-called curbside or drive-through donations of food and requisites, usually between 10 and 10:30 a.m. every day of the week. Anyone wanting to make a contribution to the temple, as long as you wear a face mask and keep your distance, can make an appointment with the temple staff, and the monk will come down to the temple gate dressed in full PPE to receive the donation and give a blessing. In the meantime, although all of us hope the present situation will not last too long, the silver lining for the crisis is that there are additional or perhaps different ways in which temple devotees can show their support for the temple without having to attend in person. We are now entering upon the third month where our temple has been reliant for its income on weekly merit fund donations, whereby devotees can pledge and transfer donations of money, any amount you can spare, to be used for necessary things like food and medicine to keep the temple community going, with further details to be found on the temple's DIMC family line group, or you can ask about it by phoning up members of the temple staff. Basically, the convenient ways are mailing checks to the temple address or by bank transfer. You can also transfer by Venmo or Zelle. The special merits arising from those contributing to the COVID-19 Silver Lining Fund are that you will have a life free of obstacles and danger, you will gain mastery of all forms of knowledge, prosper in your duties, have special insight into Dharma teachings, attain purity with ease, breaking free of the defilements in the mind. You will gain wealth on worldly, spiritual and transcendental levels, allowing you to pursue perfections with ease, all the way to the attainment of the utmost Dharma. The whole temple would like to rejoice in your merits on this occasion. In the meantime, try to stay healthy, avoid recklessness or complacency in the face of the virus, maintain a positive mood, speak only positive words, forgive others, extend good wishes to others, and meditate daily. Try to develop your spiritual vision of transformation, and also try to clarify your own strengths and weaknesses that you can leverage for your own journey of spiritual transformation. So for today's program, this is me, Phra Nicholas, signing off for this session. So long, folks, and stay safe.